In this video, we will introduce some useful functions for working with objects in rprogramming. So this list of functions can be used for example, data frame and a matrix, and mostly for data frame and for vectors also. So the length will list the number of elements components in an object, and dim for the dimensions, for example, dimensions of a matrix. str will show the structure of a data frame. And the class will show the class of an object. Class is for object-oriented programming. And the mode will show the value type, numeric or character, for example. Names for the names of the components, for the variables, for example, of a data frame. And C will combine elements into a vector. This is mostly used. And the cbind will combine data frame across columns, where two data frames can combine together, for example, column by column. So their columns will be combined from two data frames. And similarly, rbind will combine data frames across rows. Head will list the first part of a data frame, usually 6 observations, and a tail will list the last part of a data frame. ls will list all objects in the current working environment. And rm, you can delete one or more objects in the environment. And using rm list equals als parentheses will remove all objects from the working environment. And seq used to create a sequence vector from the first index number to the last index number by the step option for between these two range. And the rep will repeat these elements n times and generate a vector. Cut will cut the continuous variables into a vector with n levels. So next we will show all these commands functions in RStudio. So first we set the working directory and create a data frame called grade. So grade data frame has about 20 observations with different columns for the student ID, full name, gender, and test scores for the math, physics, and chemistry, and their data value. So if we use length grade, length 10, we show how many variables of this data frame. Next, we create an object called test equals grades age value. So it will be a vector. So test will be a vector with 20 elements for each represent one student's age, right? So if we use length test, so we show 20. So length function applying to different objects will show different dimensions value. And if we use dim function for the grade, it will show 20, 10. 20 means 20 rows or 20 observations. 10 means 10 variables, 10 columns. If we use dim for matrix, it will also show rows and columns. So next we will use str function for the data frame. It's very useful. str will show the main information of this data frame. So 20 observations with 10 variables, or 20 rows with 10 columns, and each variable's basic information have been shown. Character variable and the values and so on, values. If we use a class to the grade, it will show it is a data frame. If class to the test is a vector, so it shows numeric object. If we use the mode for the grade mode, it is a list mode. And the mode for the test, it is also numeric. If we use the names function for the grade, it will list the variable names of this data frame. Next, we create an object called test2, which combines using C function with the test and with 2 extra elements. Then we show test2. Now test2 has 22 elements. The first 20 are ages from the data frame, column age, and the last 20 from this function C, which will add these 2 extra to the test. Next, we use cbind function to combine data frames across column. So we create a data frame called grade part, which comes from grade data frame, but only with 3 columns from 7 to 9. Grade part. 20 observations, 20 rows, 3 columns, right? This is also a data frame. Then we change the name of grade part to these 3 new variable name. So names grade part with a vector v1, v2, v3. Then we show again this grade part data frame. So the name part has been changed with the new name. Next, we can use cbind to combine the original grade with grade part together. So this is test 3. So now test 3 is a data frame with 20 observations and with 13 columns. The last 3 columns come from a data frame called grade part. So we combine these 2 data frames together into a new data frame. This big data frame has 13 variables now. Similarly, you can use rbind function. For example, we create a test4 data frame called test4 is a data frame, and it has 10 rows, 10 observations from grade data frame. So we use test4 equals grade bracket 1 to 10 with a comma because all the columns will be selected. Then we only select the first 10 rows. So test4 has 10 rows and all the 10 columns from grade data frame. So test4 itself is also a data frame with 10 rows. So we can use rbind to combine grade and test4 by rows. So test5 we will show how it is test5. So test5 has 30 observations now with all the columns from grade and 30 observations. Actually, the last 10 observations are the same as the first 10 observations because we create a test4 from the first 10 rows from data frame grade. So header function will list the first part of data frame. So we list the 6 rows or 6 observations from a data frame. So tail grade will list the last 6 observations, last 6 rows of a data frame. LS will list all objects in current working directory, working environment. So as we should grade part, test 1, test 2, and so on. And if we rm test 5, so the test 5 object will be removed from the current working environment. So we list ls again, so no test 5 now. Test 5 has been removed. If we use rm list equals ls function, so it will remove all objects in the current working environment. Then we ls again, then no objects now. Next function is seq. So we first create a vector seq from 1 to 10. So from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on to 10. And by default, gap step is 1 between two neighboring elements. And if we set seq 1 to 10 with 2 options, then it will be like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on. And the rip function will repeat the first element with the 5 times of the second element. So 1 will be repeated with 5 times, and the result is a vector. Then cut will divide the continuous variables into a factor with n levels. So we first read the data frame, grade again. So grade is the same grade data frame with 20 observations, 10 rows, 20 observations, 10 columns. Then age is a numeric continuous variable. Then we use grade age equals cut grade age to 3. So assign back to the grade age. If we show the grade structure of grade now, age is numeric with integer value, or we say continuous value. But if we use cut grade age with 3 levels and assign back to grade age, so it is done. Then we show again grade. So now age is a fact type of variable with 3 level. The first is between 19 to 27, the second is 27 to 35, and so on. And if you want to download the source files to practice on your computer, you can go to this link to download all source files for different sections for the data analysis beginner playlist. So all the videos will be uploaded later, but the source files are all on this GitHub link. Thanks for watching.